The Chicago Bulls entered into a rebuild just 1 year ago when they pulled the pin and traded Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves for a haul that netted them Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, and Chris Dunn. At the time, it was widely regarded as a terrible decision for the Bulls and one that would send them into a long rebuild. But it appears that this rebuild has happened far faster than many would have expected. LaVine showed he could still ball post his ACL injury, Chris Dunn proved he was definitely not going to be a bust, and the Bulls nailed back-to-back picks at number 7 in the draft. Now, they have just signed Jabari Parker to an incredibly team-friendly deal and look like a solid young team in the East. This video will cover each of these moves briefly, but I want to largely focus on the acquisition of Wendell Carter Jr. The young big man out of Duke was widely considered one of the safest picks in the draft. A player that would be guaranteed to be good, but might never reach all-star level or be one of the best big men in the league. But Carter Jr. is showing that he might actually have this ceiling in the Summer League. As the main big man on his team, he is given the opportunity to show his skill in the post, his great footwork, and the soft touch he has on his hooks and layups. The reason we only got to see glimpses of this in college was because of the presence of Marvin Bagley on Duke last season. He was the primary option by a long stretch, received nearly all of the post touches, and maybe his hype was enough to overshadow Wendell Carter's own star capabilities. On Duke, Carter Jr. was largely asked to clean up the glass, defend the best big man, shoot threes, and occasionally make a play around the rim. But the thing is, he never complained, and always did his job well. This is a sign of a fantastic type of NBA personality, the player who is willing to sacrifice some of his own personal accolades for the opportunity to play on a great team. Wendell appears to be the type of player who is happy to fill in the gaps and use his versatile skill set to do what the team needs him to do to function at its best. And on this Summer League squad, that is to use his full skill set as much as possible. And this is what I love about Summer League. It lets teams and the fans know exactly what skills each rookie possesses and wants to eventually utilize in the NBA. This is because they are usually the best player on their team and are given free rein to shoot the ball as much as they want or simply do as much with it as they want. And in Carter Jr.'s case, he tends to make as many correct decisions as possible on the court. In this vein, he reminds me a lot of a younger version of Al Horford. The first thing that made me think of this comparison is his tendency to catch the ball at the elbow and then set up his guard with a dribble handoff as they cut into the paint. This is something Horford does a lot for the Celtics and is one of the big reasons why Isaiah Thomas and other point guards tend to do well when playing for the Boston Celtics. A lot of people question why this is more effective than a normal pick and roll. It is because there is an extra layer of possibility in the play as the big man has the ball in their hands. If their defender hedges onto the guard as they come around the screen, it creates an open lane for them to drive into, or they can simply rise up for a mid-range jump shot that won't be contested. And Wendell has these skills. He has shown the ability to shoot the mid-range and put the ball onto the deck and get to the rim for a dunk or a layup. Carter is 6'11" and moves exceptionally quickly for a guy of his size. This will give him a great advantage when going up against other NBA centers in the big league. Given an inch of space, he should be able to take off, burn his defender, and get into the paint. Then when he is there, he has shown the ability to rise off 1 foot or 2 and dunk, finish off the glass, or with a soft layup or hook shot. And Carter isn't just limited to finishing in the paint. He also has a soft touch on his jump shot and can shoot from both the mid-range and the three-point line. While the mid-range shooting is great for the pick and pop, the three-point shooting is what will really excite Bull fans, especially his ability to shoot corner threes. For some reason, I've noticed that a lot of big men who shoot threes do so mostly from the top of the key and the wing. And this makes sense, because a lot of shots for big men come around the elbow, so these shots are simply a natural extension by taking a few steps back. But this space is usually occupied by the guards and wings, who are usually more natural shooters. Very few big men have the ability to strike the corner three at a high efficiency, and it's the next evolution I see occurring for NBA level bigs. Wendell already has this shot down, and has splashed a couple of corner threes in the Summer League to boot. The other reason why this shot is so important is the big man can stand in the corner waiting for the ball, but when it becomes clear that the driver is going to shoot, they can crash baseline to try and affect the offensive rebound. And rebounding is yet another skill of Carter Jr.'s. His long arms and quick frame allow him to move into position quickly, and he is an expert at tapping the ball to himself and putting it back up for a shot. And his natural post-game benefits him here. Wendell has a couple of solid moves over both shoulders that get him to a fadeaway jumper or a simple hook shot. When he grabs the offensive rebound, he can spin away from the unsettled defense and rise up for a move that is very natural to him. but he can also pass out of the rebound and hit cutters and shooters. And his passing is another area of the game that lines up with Al Horford. He isn't as solid as a passer as Big Al yet, but he has the vision and makes some nice cross-court passes, and he has hit some backdoor cutters this summer league. I fully expect this skill to get even better the more he gets used to the NBA and the pace of the game at this level. This passing, rebounding, and three-point shooting make him the perfect big man to pair next to Lauri Markkanen. Lauri is definitely the more skilled offensive big, but Wendell can pass in the ball high-low and won't cramp the space in the paint when Markkanen goes to work. It also means that teams won't be able to double with the big man, as if they do, Wendell will be wide open for the lob or the three-pointer. But where he pairs really well is the defensive end. Markkanen isn't a bad defender, and showed ability to move his feet on the perimeter and put in a large amount of effort. But he will never be an elite level defender. Carter Jr. has that potential. He moves his feet quickly, has expert timing on block shots, and is fantastic at using his long arms to poke the ball loose and contest shots. Wendell will be able to continue his Duke tradition of taking the tougher assignment, which will allow Lauri to rest and maintain his energy for the offensive end. Wendell completes the young starting five of the Bulls that they should look to move to at some point this season, presuming everyone is healthy and playing well. That is Kris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Jabari Parker, Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr. The beautiful thing about this lineup is that everyone can shoot threes, and everyone aside from Dunn and maybe Carter can create their own offense. LaVine really showed his talent in the 24 games he played after returning from his ACL injury. The rust was still there, but he showed he could still score the ball, and most importantly, that he still had his athleticism. The Sacramento Kings went out on a limb when they signed him to a 4-year, $78 million deal. It isn't the biggest contract in the league these days, but if he doesn't develop into a great player, it might have been a little costly. But LaVine has a really high ceiling as a scorer, he is a solid streaky shooter, but is incredible downhill and can attack the rim like few other players. I think the Bulls' hand was essentially forced to match. If they let him walk, they lose one of their key pieces from the Butler trade for nothing, and wouldn't have anyone on their roster that could score easily as a guard. Plus, their salary cap situation is actually quite healthy, with cap space opening up in 2019 and 2020, when they'll have around $40 million in cap space and then around $60 million. So they will have the cap space to sign a maximum free agent, and then the space to sign 2 in the following year, so long as they preserve their cap space and are smart with their contracts. For this reason, I think that the LaVine decision is fine. He will expire in 2 years following the big cap space years, and if he hasn't panned out, the Bulls can simply move on. But if he does pan out, he'll be hitting his prime at the same time as Markkanen and Carter Jr. truly find their feet in the league, and Kris Dunn should have also hit his stride in a big way. For this reason, I like the move from the Bulls and hope LaVine plays really well this season. Then, there is signing Jabari to one of my favourite deals of the summer. They signed him to a 2-year, $40 million deal, but the kicker is, the second year is a team option. Once again, Chicago is doing absolutely nothing else with that cap space this year, and it gets Parker into a Bulls jersey and gives him the opportunity to ball out and prove his worth. And if he doesn't, or gets injured again, the Bulls can simply decline his option and free the cap space back up straight away. But I have a feeling that Parker will play well in Chicago. It's his hometown, and he showed some great flashes after returning from his ACL injury last season, including dropping 35 points against the Denver Nuggets in April. He still had the spring in his step, was incredibly difficult for defenders to contain, and was hitting mid-range jump shots. Hopefully he has been in the gym and losing the little bit of extra weight he put on, because if he has, he'll be able to play 30 minutes again and could return to his pre-ACL form. The only problem with Parker is that his natural position in the NBA is probably at the 4. It allows him to be quicker than his opponent and easily blow by them, and then at the other end he is strong enough to attempt to guard most 4s. But the NBA has moved on from being able to play 3 guys as big as Carter, Markkanen, and Parker, and it'll be an interesting experiment to see them all on the court at the same time. I think they'll be able to get away with it by staggering their minutes and allow Parker to play at the 4, and then one of Carter or Markkanen at the 5, and then give some minutes to having Markkanen and Carter at the 4 and 5 together, with Parker on the bench. But out of necessity, the Bulls will have to play all 3 of them at some point together, and on offense, I think they'll be fine. They can all shoot, so the spacing will be there, and all of them can create and attack the rim. But the defense could suffer as Parker isn't the greatest on that end, and Markkanen and him will struggle to contain 3s and 4s. but they could very well put in the effort to improve their intensity and foot speed in order to get by on that end of the court, and then bullying opposing teams with size in the paint. Even if they can't play together on the court much, the Bulls have a very bright future with Markkanen, Parker, Levine, Dunn, and their new addition of Wendell Carter Jr., and I can't wait to watch them this season. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more NBA videos in the future. And let me know what you think of Wendell Carter Jr. and the future of the Bulls in the comment section below.